So last summer, while shopping at my local co-op, I was at the cash register preparing to pay for my groceries when a woman who looked to be in her 20s came up and started banging her grocery cart into mine. She demanded that I stop what I was doing and get out of her way. Let me set the stage for you. I was not in line. The cashier was ringing up my groceries, I had my wallet out, and I was at the card reader preparing to slide my card to make payment. The woman was not done shopping, but wanted to take a shortcut to the next aisle over to continue shopping. If she could force me to move, it would save her about 15 feet of walking. While I'm accustomed to this kind of self-entitled behavior from white millennial women, I have no tolerance for it. So, being a tribal elder, I simply looked at her and said, "Tribal youth are not so rude." Now, of course, she had no idea what I was talking about. As everybody who's watching this can see, I don't fit the stereotype of an American Indian, and I wasn't wearing any of my tribal gear. I don't look so aged as my peers either because I'm on the paleo diet and I've been taking supplements for decades. Probiotics, for example, are big these days, but I've been taking them since the 1970s. But even if she had known my age, it still would have made no difference to her because privileged white millennial women are the goddess's gift and above mere men. Then she whined, "But I'm disabled." Aren't they all? So am I snorted 3 times over. By the standards of these pathetic creatures, it's true. About 18 years ago, an infection I picked up in a hospital emergency room destroyed my L3, L4 disc. I spent a couple of weeks in the hospital for that, and the doctor told me I was 100% disabled and would never be able to walk or sit for long without pain. Then he offered to certify me as such so I could go on to disability. Okay, I may have been disabled, but I wasn't about to go on disability, so I declined. Doesn't my back hurt? Sure it does sometimes, but that's what exercise is for. Also, more than 40 years ago, I tore up my right knee while skiing. Sometimes it hurts like hell. When it does, I do squats to stretch out the ligament. Finally, I'm autistic, high-functioning to be sure, but autistic nonetheless, and like many others with autism, I've grown increasingly impatient with the contemptible behavior of these little barbarians. And while writing this, I just realized another one. It just occurred to me, is generally considered a disability. I have type 1 diabetes. Undiagnosed, but all the symptoms were there, and throughout my childhood and early adulthood, I was absolutely miserable for it. But I'm proof that type 1 diabetes can be controlled with diet and exercise. So I refuse to get out of the way of this self-entitled millennial princess who, you may not be surprised to learn, responded violently. Typical, when these little thugs don't get their way, they turn violent. And then people wonder why millennial men in ever-growing numbers are going MGTOW. When Bern Chapin comments on his good fortune to grow up before feminism really began to poison society against men, I agree. Growing up during the 50s and 60s was no picnic, but at least the hate mongers within the feminist movement hadn't infected Western society with their misandry yet. But it will end, and either the pendulum of social cycles will begin to swing to the opposite extreme, or somehow, perhaps with transhumanism, we'll find a way to bring this stupid beast to an end. For the Backlash at Backlash.com, my name is Rod Van Mecklin.